Hello BookTube, this is Kelly with Books I'm Not Reading, and it is so hot here. Oh my god, it's just scorching, and I'm not even talking like high noon. I think 6 o'clock tonight, it's going to be 93 outside. It's crazy. It's just absolutely, it's just nuts. I never wear a tank top. Never. If you know me at all, you will know this is highly unusual. It's just scorching outside, and it's supposed to be even hotter tomorrow. So we have that to look forward to. But anyway, so because it's summer, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of man versus nature, if you will, books and film, and how they somehow combat each other a little bit. Maybe we get tied up with one version or another, but we don't ever really talk about that in terms of nonfiction. So I wanted to give an example of a great documentary and also a great book that goes along with it. So, and those of you who live in urban areas, we who live near wildlife have a healthy respect for it. Our world is not a petting zoo, and every year we are just waiting to hear about somebody who has been killed by a bear, somebody who has been attacked by a mountain lion, someone who has been gored by a buffalo. They're wild animals. And they're beautiful. They're so beautiful. And I love the fact that I live in a place that when Jason and I were moving in, I think 3 deer walked down the street. And another time I was on the phone with my parents and 5 antelope walked down the street. That doesn't happen very often. And I do worry about them because there's a busy intersection where they're going, but I stay inside. I don't try to pet them. I don't try to feed them. Anyway, and it's just sad because I feel like these people just don't understand. So, I want to talk about a great film and a great book that go along very well together, and maybe you need something to cool down with this warm weather. So the film is Grizzly Man, made by Werner Herzog. I love his voice. His voice is it's just so soothing. And I think I watched this again for the second time. The first time I saw it, I was just almost obsessed and went straight to the library to check out the book I'm about to show you. But yeah, I think he is. I just watched it again last night for the second time. I hadn't seen it since I initially watched it. And I think he does a really great job of balancing kind of the craziness with the beauty in a place. My favorite stuff actually in this is Timothy Treadwell and the foxes. I think the foxes are so beautiful. Anyway, but a bear is an entirely other matter. Now, I believe prior to the movie coming out, this book was published called Death in the Grizzly Maze by Mike Lipinski. And when Jason and I moved to Montana, and I started working for Barnes & Noble, I saw this on the Montana table, if you will, and I'm like, oh, what's this doing here, And everyone's like, oh, Mike Lipinski, he comes into the store all the time. He is the nicest man. I was so fortunate to get to meet him. And it was a great time because usually when I meet authors, I haven't read their books yet, or at least in the past I hadn't read, hadn't had that experience. And so it was so great to be able to say to an author, I read your book. I loved it. And I think Mike does a great job with this book as well of really painting the complexity. This is actually published by Falcon, which I thought was interesting. They publish a lot of like hiking and mountain biking guides. Within the book, I don't know how well you can see this. So there's some pictures. There's a map, which I'm big on maps in books. I really like that. That really helps me kind of get a sense of the space and things like that. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I got done watching this, I went to the library and checked out this, and then later bought it. And I believe I have, yeah, I have a signed copy. So that's really cool. Kelly, thanks for sharing my life. Mike Lipinski. And again, it's joy to meet an author who is very kind. And I'm sure we talk a lot on BookTube about how much money authors make from the books that they do, but I know for a fact that, eventually at some point I started seeing less and less of Mike, and he went and did another job because he couldn't live off the royalties of this. So yeah, he told me once, this is a sign of how dedicated Mike Lipinski is. I guess there was a debate about whether bear spray really worked or not. And so he agreed to have somebody else on television. They filmed this. They sprayed him with bear spray, and he's just writhing around on the ground in pain from the bear spray. So I'm like, you were really dedicated, Mike. I would not be that dedicated. Anyway, so the story itself is just fascinating and tragic. I love that Herzog talks about these sort of magical moments that Timothy Treadwell was filming and didn't even realize that he was filming them. There's different people that are interviewed in the documentary compared to the book. So yeah, I would just encourage you to check both of these out. And I love the idea of like a documentary and a book kind of going together. I mean, it's not like the book inspired the documentary, but I just think, I think they work well together, and I think they both do a great job. So, and again, from those of us who live in the wild places of the world where there are more of a certain species than there are actually people, and that happens. Please take a picture from your car. Enjoy. If you don't have your camera with you, just enjoy the spectacle of getting to see something wild and beautiful. But my goodness, don't get too close. Take precautions. Get advice. Whatever the case may be. Like, I'm telling you, if I saw a bear, there's no way on earth. I mean, if I woke up in the morning and there's a bear in my front yard, I'd call out sick, and I'd call Game and Fish. You don't mess around with them. I would be nervous if a deer or an antelope was sleeping in my front yard. Raccoons, they're small and they're cute, but they're not anything to mess around with. So, man versus nature. Nature wins. Just keep your distance, folks, this summer, and be safe. And I hope you all are nice and cool, because it is not cold here. The AC cranked up, and I'm still hanging out in the basement. So, all right. Thanks, BookTube, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.